How's it going, crew? Welcome back to another episode of the Captain Reacts. Today we will be diving back into Alex, Kansas. I will get into that more in a second, but first, I do want to let you guys know there is a Discord. It is linked in the description below. I also live stream often, video game stuff, but I do want to get into more content. So if you join that Discord, you can recommend me videos and you can interact there and stuff like that. Also, if you're enjoying these videos and you're enjoying my content, please be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe, let me know how I'm doing. Any support is very much appreciated. You are not required to, but any support is very much appreciated. Thank you. Anyway, we are getting back into Alex, Kansas. He did upload a new video a few weeks ago that I haven't watched yet, and he updated his page to where it's labeled in seasons. So there actually is a little more to it. If we remember, I'm gonna skip the ones that I've already seen, but we will dive back into this in the order I guess it's supposed to be. If you recall, there was Liberty Lurker, where there was a thing that I guess 8 people in the Statue of Liberty. There was the Rushmore Revenge, where you had the weird growing tentacle alien things, I guess, on top of Mount Rushmore. So the next video we should be getting into is the Alcatraz attack. I am prepared. I am ready. Map of Pacific Branch, United States. Notifications. Okay. Ruins? Question mark? Anti escorts, nice. This is a pretty loud video. Yeah, this video is a little loud. Alcatrazosis. Oh, is it being portrayed like a cell now? What's going on? They're getting the squiggles in my squiggles! Okay. This is radiation therapy. So the island of Alcatraz is actually a living organism? And it's gonna eat all of, it's in New York, right? New York, somewhere up there. Oh. 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 As of 2020, the Alcatraz zone extends to West Texas. Oh. Well, that's lovely. Well, guys, Alcatraz Island is a living island, and it is going to consume all of us. Are you prepared? I guess this channel, it's like you have no idea what is going on, but it's so weird in that way that it's kind of creepy. It's just like, fuck, ugh, ugh. But I mean, like, it's it's not like creepy. It's just kind of like I don't know how to explain it. It's just Dean Democracy. Look back at America's 37th presidency.
During a program of ABC Evening News, anchor Peter Jennings told viewers to look forward to next week for a special broadcast of national significance. Jennings would continue to remind viewers of the special broadcast over the next 7 nights, even referring to it at one point as the most unprecedented announcement in recent history. A week after its first mention, Jennings reminded viewers of the special broadcast one last time, asking them to pay attention later that night for an exclusive look at the greatest gift to the American people. Due to the anticipation built over the week, over 60 million Americans tuned into ABC, waiting for the evening news to end and for the special broadcast to begin. There were countless theories as to what would occur, from the announcement of alien life to the declaration of an all-out nuclear war. Speculation was brewing
Yikes.
intensely. Once the evening news program ended, a black screen with a 10-second countdown commenced with the title Dean Democracy. Some viewers, so terrified of the threat of nuclear war, reportedly experienced nervous breakdowns and ran down the street, declaring that Dean Democracy was the code name for an all-out nuclear holocaust. Yet once the countdown
Not
ended,
surprising,
all
honestly, for the
fears were
time
soon
period.
replaced with tears of joy and an excitement not seen since the end of World War II.
What are we waiting for? Let's bring them back home.
Dean for president.
In the seconds
Hell
following
yeah.
James Dean's presidential announcement, hundreds of thousands of neighborhoods erupted into celebration. Although other candidates had promised to end the Vietnam War, none had so accurately expressed the same anger that they had felt, which Dean had perfectly conveyed in a 15-second broadcast. Due to popular demand, the ABC Evening News was canceled the next night, replaced by a 30-minute loop of James Dean's presidential announcement. The broadcast was watched again by over 38 million Americans, and the parties continued for the rest of the week.
Hell yeah, Dean for president.
Due to
Wow!
repeated assassination attempts on Robert Kennedy, the Democratic Party presidential debates were canceled for the 1968 election season. However, this proved to be no issue for Dean, as polls indicated that he was in the lead for the entirety of 1967 and 1968, despite having had fewer public appearances and rallies than any other candidate. The strength of his campaign relied on the powerful advertisements he directed that would air every Friday evening on ABC. The series of programs would be considered by many as another weekly TV series and went on to become the highest-rated TV show on television after the conclusion of Star Trek in 1967. Although a presidential debate was eventually scheduled 2 weeks before the election, James Dean instead invited opponent Richard Nixon to a track to race cars on the same night. Although reluctant at first, Nixon eventually agreed and went to spend the entire day with Dean, reportedly even telling the actor, "To hell with it, I'm voting for you. You're already a better president than I'll ever be." This statement, although only a rumor, would spread like wildfire in tabloids and permanently curbed Nixon's chance for victory. On the morning of November 1st, 1968, 4 days before Election Day, anti-Dean groups hijacked radio channels and told civilians they were fed up with James Dean and that television was ruining American youth. After the broadcast, the groups
Okay,
went
is
on
this
to
where it
cut
starts
hundreds
getting...
of power lines in the southeast, effectively preventing any of Dean's presidential ads from reaching any household below Tennessee. Dean quickly heard of the incident and, despite the risk of an assassination, flew down to the south and quickly went to work with local electricians to repair the broken power lines. James Dean would be met with a supportive crowd, primarily younger voters who were eager to see a younger face back in the White House. Elderly white conservatives, often the parents of the younger supporters, remained in their houses and occasionally peered through their window blinds to catch a glimpse of the handsome candidate. Although it wasn't
Okay.
known to Dean at the time, hate groups in the South had perpetuated the idea that he was Satan in disguise and cited his good looks and his love for jazz as being clear signs of the devil.
Oh, of course, yeah. James Dean for he's the devil, you know?
James Dean is no man.
Hell yeah. Produced by the Antine-Dean Association. I can get
Elderly white
behind that.
conservatives in the Southeast would be the only demographic unfazed by his campaign, yet Dean continued to travel from state to state, repairing power lines for 4 days straight until the very morning of the election. On November 5th, 1968, James Dean received 75% of the popular vote with 395 electoral votes. Nixon congratulated Dean in a phone
Hell
call
yeah,
the
I knew
following
he'd be
morning,
president.
but Dean
Heck yeah.
refused to acknowledge the win and
James Dean
instead
for
asked to
president.
race
That's my
cars against the
president.
track. On January 20th, 1969, James Dean held his inaugural address at the official Capitol Raceway. Although presidents in the past had speeches that were typically around 20 minutes, Dean spoke for less than a minute.
I have a speech, and it has the flotsam that you people expect to hear. But that's not fair. No, that's not fair at all. I'm here for all of you. It's only fair that you speak for yourselves. My words shouldn't be louder than yours. So I brought many other guests to speak. They're just people like you and I. In the same time that many other presidents have spoken by themselves, America will speak. Thank you.
That's my president. Hell yeah. James Dean for president. Hell yeah.
Dean proceeded to introduce many groups to the microphone, including civil rights activists and Native American families. Martin Luther King Jr. would also come forward to speak in his first appearance since an attempt on his life 9 months prior. President Dean would conclude the inauguration with a brief bongo performance and went on to race Richard Nixon at the track. In subsequent presidential inaugurations, those who disagreed with the elected president would instead celebrate Dean Democracy Day and protested by watching Dean's unique take on the address in place of the actual one. In a televised address, President Dean planned to inform Americans of his first 90 days in office. However, 6 seconds into the broadcast, the audio cut out and remained absent for the remainder of the speech. Although anti-Dean groups claimed responsibility and took pride in the sabotage, many civilians claimed that it benefited the president. The silent broadcast highlighted President Dean's sincere facial expressions and lively disposition, as opposed to the stern and stiff personalities of prior administrations. Viewers were proud to see a man in his prime at the most important position in the
Hell yeah.
country. Ironically, President
So
Dean's
is this
popularity
theory just
grew after
like
the
an
technical
alternate
difficulties, and film director
timeline
Stanley Kubrick went on to call the broadcast
where
the greatest
weird shit
silent
just
film ever made.
happens? An alternate universe, an alternate timeline or some shit? He's gone. Okay, so you get a timeline where everything's great, Good people didn't die, and the president is cool. Great. At the cost of all national landmarks being homes for Lovecraftian horrors. Not great. Cons. Unstoppable cognito hazard with a self-generating cult of personality. Pros. Absolute bro. Nixon. James, we have to talk. Dean. About racing cars? Nixon. About national security. Dean. Of racing cars? He concluded his speech with bongos. That's my president. So this is just like an alternate timeline if Lovecraftian horrors existed. That's kind of what I'm getting from this. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fucking interesting. It's just it's kind of it's a really big what the fuck. Air Force One Angel. August 17, 2003, Air Force One made an unannounced trip across the continental U.S. Many civilians claim to have seen the aircraft drop packages on various national monuments. Oh, is this where it connects? Gotta drop packages on the Lovecraftian horrors to keep them at bay, right? Mount Rushmore tentacles. Is there something at the Golden Gate Bridge? We haven't seen that yet. Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty, right? No, or is that Alcatraz? No, that was the Statue of Liberty, right? No. No. That was... I'm lost. I just saw an island, I couldn't see it clearly. I think that was Alcatraz. Was it the Statue of Liberty? Is Alcatraz a national monument? No. That would have been the Statue of Liberty because it's national monuments, right? I didn't get a clear look at it. I could go back and check, but who cares? White House officials later disclosed that the unusual flight of Air Force One was unauthorized and unmanned. The lone figure seen inside the plane, dubbed the Air Force One Angel, has yet to be identified by federal authorities. So an alien came to subdue the Lovecraftian horrors for us, right? The infection that hit Mount Rushmore was dropped by air. The infection was motivated by revenge. Air Force One flew over the Mount Rushmore, so Air Force One Angel is an avenging angel. Ah! Ah! The Statue of Liberty was missing from its pedestal. So it was the Statue of Liberty, but it didn't look right. That's why I didn't know what it was, because it didn't look right, because the statue wasn't there. What's going on? Lincoln Looker? We're just moving on. Lincoln Looker. What is this? Maya Arnoldson.
I was a Lincoln Looker for 2 weeks. It was terrifying. One moment you're at home answering the door, and the next you're stuck in some kind of suit. The smell was awful in there, and the metal seat was so cold. The only thing you can do is look through two little holes. It was some kind of mask, and whenever the sun shined near, I could see the inside of it. It was a familiar face. Every few nights, straws would be put through the holes, and someone would feed me some weird soup. After 2 weeks, they found out that they had misidentified me, and I wasn't the correct Lincoln Looker. Reagan apologized to me personally, and I was released with some monetary compensation. They don't care if I
What?
talk about it or not. No one would take me seriously. Lincoln looking is just too absurd.
What? Reagan's involved? So they dress you up with a mask and suit like Abraham Lincoln, and they.
There's always that someone that we dislike more than everyone else. Not usually famous or important, but they've done something that's affected us personally. Often you're the only person who remembers this act. It may not have been that bad, but memory hurts. Everyone experiences this, and the president is no exception. Except he can do something about it. Every president can choose one person to be a Lincoln Looker. After the alibi is fabricated, the person is abducted from their home, and they stay a Lincoln Looker for as long as the president sits in office. Nobody can question his decision, and there's no trial. You might be surprised, but it's nothing new. It's been a tradition. Lincoln Lookers have been around for a very long time.
What? Why? For what? What? Due to rumors that Lincoln Lookers were imprisoned behind presidential portraits, White House officials publicly removed and reinstalled the portraits to demonstrate space existed.
Hello, we are not available now. Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call.
Hey, Eunice. It's Howard. I don't know what I just saw. I was at the top of the steps, reading the inscriptions and talking to visitors, when I started to hear a faint scratching sound. I didn't think much of it at first, but when I got close to the chair, I realized that the scratching was coming from inside the marble. So I went to a guard and asked whether she could do anything about animals that could be trapped in there. She told me not to worry about it, and that they'd take care of it once there were fewer visitors. A few minutes passed, and the scratching became much louder. I went back to the guard and asked what kind of animals usually got stuck in there, and she said, wild animals. The sound started to make visitors anxious. I remember one boy pulling so hard at his mother's hand, begging to leave. The
Whoa.
blind girl with one of those canes went up to the chair and pressed her head against it to listen. Then she started crying. Her parents tried to pull her away, but she just began to hit the chair with her cane. That's when the guards asked everyone to go back down the steps. I don't know why, and it's going to sound crazy, but I felt compelled to help. So I went to the blind girl and joined her in hitting the marble. The guards tried to pin us down, but the scratching became too loud for even them. It sounded like someone was shaving down a chalkboard. Eventually the marble began to crack, and a few more hits caused the crevice to expand all the way to the top of the chair. There was a sudden burst of air from the damage, and the head suddenly turned toward us. I was afraid it would fall, so I picked the girl up and went down a few steps. The head slowly rotated back into place, and when it started to be pushed upwards, I took out my camera. It was no wild animal.
What the Oh no. So Oh, that is awful. So, the Lincoln Memorial, the statue of President Lincoln is actually a prison for the current president to house the person that they hate most for the entire term of their. Ooh. Yeah, so it was a monstrous being that came out. This person makes a good point. The girl at the beginning says she was fed a special soup. You think whatever they fed the people inside turns them into that thing? No. Okay, so no, it wasn't a his people are saying it was a monstrous thing, but I'm pretty sure it was just a person. Yeah, that is awful. That is awful. The Washington wormhole, we already saw that. That was the tree, the last tree that they built Washington Monument around because they couldn't destroy it, and it did creepy, crazy shit. On to the next one, Delaware Double. This will probably be the last one we watch today, but oh, this is.
Accidental discovery made by two fishermen has sent shockwaves across the nation. Around 4 p.m. on Christmas Eve, Ralph Grassman and Michael Tillman were reeling in their last batch of catfish when something on the ice caught their eye. It looked like a bicorn, one of those hats from way back when, said Grassman, the others of the two who also organized the trip. Grassman walked down the ice to retrieve the hat. When he pulled back the hat from the ice, tumbled back in shock at the sight of a human scalp, partially exposed in the ice. Tillman walked over and after a brief discussion with Grassman, agreed to remove the rest of the body from the ice. The effort took several hours, but by 10 p.m. the fishermen were able to pull the entire body from the ice with no further damage. Although both men had presumed that the individual was already dead for some time, Tim exclaimed in shock when he reportedly saw the individual's eyelid twitch.
Oh, hell no.
Grassman suggested to immediately take the body home in an attempt to revive the frozen man. They proceeded to carry it back to Grassman's apartment. They laid the body in a full bathtub, gradually raising the water's temperature throughout the night to prevent shock. Grassman claims to have learned this technique from a pulp magazine he had read as a child. At 2 a.m. the following morning, Tillman claimed that an individual briefly regained consciousness and shouted, "Victory or death," while Grassman rested in the living room. By 7 a.m., the frozen individual appeared to have relapsed into a deep coma, which prompted Grassman to phone the local authorities. And that's why he hadn't called medical personnel earlier. Grassman told reporters that he didn't want to risk the lives of the first responders, who had been driving on slippery roads in the dark. Shortly after being phoned, paramedics arrived and rushed the frozen man to the Delaware State Hospital. Throughout their experience, both fishermen thought the individual's face seemed vaguely familiar. It was only when Tillman pulled out a dollar bill that the connection was fully made. When we first dug him out, we moved his clothes so that we could carry him more easily. Clothes weighed a ton because they were completely frozen over. By death, we saw the clothes without ice, and we could have no doubt that we dug out George Washington. Although Delaware
Big
State Hospital
GW?
declined to comment on the
Georgie
identity
George?
and the
George
condition of the
Washington?
man, Grassman brought up the bicorn hat from the previous days of the Delaware History Museum, where historians confirmed to be an authentic piece from the 18th century. The validation raised more questions than answers, as further research revealed that no Washington reenactors or artifacts have been reported missing. Grassman believes that the man he dug out from the ice is the true George Washington, and that the former president had become gravely ill while crossing the Delaware River. Grassman claims that the imminent death of Washington could have been devastating to the war effort. so his condition was likely kept secret by having a double acting as the president until 1797. When asked for an explanation to why the body had been found so far from the site of the battle, Grassman replied, "He either drifted away or his men purposely planted it far away so that no one could find it." During Saturday's morning press conference, President Dean shared his thoughts on the discovery in 2 words:
So
I'm
disconnected, still
surprised.
President Dean. Okay, so an alien dropped Lovecraftian horrors on Mount Rushmore, the Golden Gate Bridge, and Statue of Liberty. James Dean became the president. George Washington is still alive. Oh, Alcatraz Island is a living being that's trying to consume everything. Oh my fucking god. Alternate line timelines are fucking crazy, you know? Oh my god. Anyway, you guys, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to leave a like and subscribe not only on my channel, but visit Alex Kansas. He'll be linked in the description below as well. But good fucking lord. There will be more of this. As many episodes as it takes to finish this series. But anyway, with that, I'll see you later, crew.